Hello, I'm Jason Barron. I'm feeling fatigued. People who are supposed to be much more learned than I am are putting out stuff on social media and confusing everybody because they're not making sense. I'm not even going to mention any names or titles with regards to these people. I'm just telling you that I'm getting tired. But I feel that I have to clarify this. Um, I'm going to, in this video, touch on the topics of war and capital punishment as it pertains to the teachings, the traditional and constant teachings of the Roman Catholic Church. Now, they say you can always tell when a book is well read and well loved. Well, this is in three pieces. I've read it so many times. This is the Roman Catechism of the Council of Trent. Now, let me read the back, the description. The Roman Catechism, the Catechism of the Council of Trent. The Catechism of the Council of Trent, called also the Roman Catechism and the Catechism of Pius V, is universally recognized as the most authoritative Catholic catechism ever written. It has been eulogized by popes, theologians, cardinals, and saints. It was ordered by the Council of Trent, edited under St. Charles Borromeo, and published by decree of Pope St. Pius V in 1566. Pope Leo XIII recommended two books for all seminarians: St. Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologica and the Catechism of the Council of Trent. Most recently, Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger, and I'll step in here, who, as we know, later became Pope Benedict XVI. Okay, most recently, Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger, prefect of the Sacred Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, called it, quote, the most important Catholic catechism, unquote. Now, that's from a recent pope, Pope Benedict XVI, who called this book the most important Catholic catechism. Originally designed to supply parish priests with an official book of instruction for the faithful, it has been used extensively by the laity in recent years as a steadying guide to orthodoxy in our confused age. Like most great works, this book is simply but authoritatively written and easily understood by all. A remarkable and brilliant work, this guiding light for 400 years will guide alike in today's confusion. Okay, now let's go to the fifth commandment. Okay, there's two parts to this commandment. There's the prohibitory part and exceptions. Um, I'm only going to read to you for this video two of the exceptions to the fifth commandment: "Thou shalt not kill." Okay, this is one exception. Another kind of lawful slaying belongs to the civil authorities, to whom is entrusted power of life and death by the legal and judicious exercise of which they punish the guilty and protect the innocent. The just use of this power, far from involving the crime of murder, is an act of paramount obedience to this commandment which prohibits murder. The end of the commandment is the preservation and security of human life. Now, the punishments inflicted by the civil authority, which is the legitimate avenger of crime, naturally tend to this end, since they give security to life by repressing outrage and violence. Hence, these words of David: "In the morning I put to death all the wicked of the land, that I might cut off all the workers of iniquity from the city of the Lord." It's Psalms, Roman numeral C8. Okay. The second one, killing in a just war. In like manner, the soldier is guiltless who, actuated not by motives of ambition or cruelty, but by a pure desire of serving the interests of his country, takes away the life of an enemy in a just war. Furthermore, there are on record instances of carnage executed by the special command of God. The sons of Levi, who put to death so many thousands in one day, were guilty of no sin. When the slaughter had ceased, they were addressed by Moses in these words: "You have consecrated your hands this day to the Lord." Exodus 32:29. I'm better at Latin than I am at Roman numerals. Okay, anyway, now this book is telling you, and again, the pages, it was 421 to 422 for what I just read, and regarding the fifth commandment and the Roman Catechism, the Catechism of the Council of Trent. Okay. Um, Now, what the book is telling you, I'm just going to focus on for this video. I'm going to focus on the capital punishment part because that's what's been going around lately. The war part that was last week. That's been resolved though. So now they're throwing out there about capital punishment, about whether it's allowed or prohibited by the Catholic faith, as far as whether you could support it or not in good faith as a Catholic. And I just read to you, that you can support it. See, the thing is, um, it is permitted to support capital punishment is permitted by the Catholic faith. But that doesn't mean that you have to promote it as a Catholic. As a Catholic, you could say, "No, I don't like that," because it's just something that's permitted. It's just not something that you're mandated to support. But on the other hand, you can't say that you can't say to somebody so if you're somebody who doesn't support the death penalty, you can't say, "Oh, well, you can't be a Catholic and support the death penalty." That's not true, because I just read to you, you can be a Catholic and support the death penalty. I mean, the Catholic Church allows for a man to marry a 14-year-old girl, but that doesn't mean that I have to think that's a good idea. That doesn't mean that maybe that the girl's father might not, think that's a good idea. So just because something is allowed doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go along with it. It just means that it's allowed. That it is not forbidden by the teachings of the Catholic Church or by the canon law of the Church. It's not prohibited. Like marrying a 14-year-old girl is not prohibited by the canon law of the Catholic Church. Just as war and capital punishment are not prohibited by the moral law of the Catholic Church. But again, that doesn't mean that you have to promote war or capital punishment as a Catholic. It's one of those where it's Either way, you can support it or you can oppose it. But you can't say that that the Catholic religion is against capital punishment or war. A specific pope might be, in his opinion, he might be against war and capital punishment, but that's just his opinion. That's not the Catholic religion. That's not the Catholic religion is bigger than any one pope. The Catholic religion, the Catholic Church states that yes, you can, as a Catholic, go to war. Yes, as a Catholic, you can be a minister of death and work in a prison and pull the switch, pull the lever, or whatever, and no, you would not be excommunicated for that. Nor would you be excommunicated for promoting the death penalty or for joining the military. Catholics are not prohibited from joining the military. That we all know that. So, I mean, if the Catholic Church was against war, dogmatically, Catholics would be forbidden, like as I believe the Jehovah's Witnesses are, from joining the military, whereas Catholics are not excommunicated for joining the military, nor would they be excommunicated for being executioners, regardless of the opinions of the Pope. So this is where we have to make a distinction between the Pope's opinion and what the Church teaches. Where see people get confused, they think that whatever the Pope says, that's what the Church teaches. No, that's a lot of times, most of the times, that's the Pope says, saying his opinion, which is not binding on the faithful. Again, like I said, a good example is if the Catholic Church was against war, Catholics would be forbidden by their religion to join the military, which they are not. And again, the same applies to being an executioner. If you were that, I don't think they use the electric chair anymore. They do the lethal injection. But if you're a Catholic and you were the guy who administered the overdose of the drugs, you would not be excommunicated for that, for being an executioner, because as I just read to you, the Catholic religion does not forbid capital punishment. The Pope might not like it. He might say he doesn't like it, but that doesn't mean that it's against the Catholic religion. So as a Catholic, you can be an executioner for the state, and you can join the military. I mean, I hope this gets through to, the 2 or 3 people who will listen to this, because I don't want to have to keep fatiguing myself in response to hearing nonsense. It's like the nonsense just doesn't stop. I mean, there's no reason for this kind of confusion. I mean, it's really not that difficult to understand if people would just read. I guess that's where people are they're confused because they don't read. It's kind of like it's like the Pope has to follow rules just like the President of the United States does. The President has to follow the Constitution. The Pope has to follow the dogmas of the Church. He can't. And just because he may, just because the Pope may say a certain opinion, that doesn't make it binding on the faithful. It's just like if a politician says, say a U.S. politician says, freedom of speech should be censored. That doesn't make it so, because the Constitution says that we have freedom of speech. So just as the president is bound by the Constitution, the Pope is bound by the dogmas of the Church and its constant teaching regarding faith and morals. Do you understand? I hope you understand. Whoever is watching this, I hope you understand. Um, the Pope is bound by rules, just as the president is. Just because he says something, that doesn't make it law. Expressing an opinion is not a de fide doctrine. Just as a politician expressing an opinion doesn't make it a law. See, is there anything else I need to bring up in this regard? No, I don't think so for today. I think we're done for today. Until the next time I hear nonsense that I have to respond to, I'm Jason Barron. I will speak to you again soon.